Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. This is Smiles here, and we are on to Chapter 11 of Midnight for Charlie Bone by Jenny Nimmo. Whew. We're more than halfway through the book now, and yeah, we got a good few chapters. Okay, so here we go. Clues at last. That old door's fallen in, said Dr. Bloor. Oh, has someone been prying? I doubt it. It's just the damp and old age. I wonder, said a familiar voice. All this junk Tully sent us, Dr. Bloor kicked a metal arm and rolled it across the floor towards the cupboard. Tricks, all of it. Where's the real thing? I told you, Dad. Miss Ingledew gave it to Charlie Bone. You can't be sure. Olivia's grip relaxed, and Charlie was able to drag his hand away from the painful nails. Billy had momentarily forgotten the skeletons hanging behind him, and was now peering through the largest crack in the door. It's Manfred, he whispered. Charlie had already recognized the voice. Shh, he whispered. Listen. Of course I'm sure, said Manfred. Asa was watching. He saw Charlie come out of Ingledew's with a large black bag. Who else would she give it to? Dr. Bloor grunted and lowered himself into an ancient-looking chair. Clouds of dust billowed around him as he sank into the cracked leather cushions. Beats me how the boy knew where to go. How he knew it was at Ingledew's. It was the cats, naturally, said Manfred. You know what they can do. Knocking things off tables, distracting people. Somehow the boy got hold of that photograph, and then, of course, he had to take it back to the Ingledew woman. I bet you anything one of those cats got into quick photo when they were packing. A moment's distraction and poof! Wrong photo and wrong envelope. I'll skin those animals alive if I ever get a hold of them. Dr. Bloor punched the arm of his chair, and another cloud of dust whirled out. The very smell they leave makes me ill. Sulphur, said Manfred. Age, said his father. 900 years of sneaking and meddling. And stealing and burning, said Manfred. In the eerie gloom of the cupboard, the three children gaped at each other. 900 years? Mouthed Olivia. Billy shook his head in disbelief. Charlie frowned and shrugged. Why not, he thought. Stranger things are happening every day in this place. Talking of burning, muttered Dr. Bloor. Do we know for sure it was the cats? I told you I saw them under my window when I was trying to put out the flames. And you think the girl had something to do with it? Of course. I'd just given her a good walloping. You shouldn't have done that, Manfred, Dr. Bloor said sternly. It won't help. I lost my temper. It makes me mad when she's not responding. She's waking up, you know. I can't keep her out for much longer. Manfred gave a sigh of impatience. It's not as if I haven't got enough to do keeping an eye on Pilgrim. And how is that little problem coming along? I'm not sure. I may be imagining it, but I think he's changed since the boy arrived. Perhaps we shouldn't have brought him here. We had to, Manfred. Couldn't leave him out there, once we knew he was endowed. I know. Inside the cupboard, Olivia made a face and pointed at Charlie. You, she mouthed. Charlie shrugged again. What did they mean? Dr. Bloor and his sinister son. Who was the girl? Who was waking up? Why was Manfred keeping an eye on Mr. Pilgrim? He listened intently for clues, but Manfred and his father were beginning to move away. It seemed that Charlie was not going to learn any more about himself or the waking girl. And then just before Manfred left the room, he said, "It won't be long now. Ace has been very vigilant. He's pretty sure that the kid with the dog is hiding it. We just have to get the parents out of the way and we'll have it." Manfred. Dr. Bloor's voice was distant now, but his words could be clearly heard. "It has to be destroyed before it wakes her up." The light in the room went out and the door closed. For a few seconds the children remained silent. When they were sure they were alone, Olivia said, "Well, that was interesting, wasn't it?" "Let's get out of here," said Charlie. "I've got a lot to tell you." Billy was the first to leap out of the cupboard. He ran over the fallen door and up the rocky steps before the others had even dusted themselves down. They needn't have bothered with the dusting. By the time they had crept out of the Da Vinci Tower, they were all three covered in cobwebs again. Olivia had a swollen ankle and cuts and bruises on her knees, but she refused to make a fuss. Charlie was impressed. "I think you should see Matron," he said. "There might be something nasty in all that dust. You know, an ancient bug or something." "Matron? She's a dragon," said Olivia. "She's bound to ask me what I've been doing. I'll just hide my knees under some tights, and Mum can deal with my wounds tomorrow." Billy reminded Charlie that he had something to tell them. "You bet I have," said Charlie. "All that stuff Manfred and Dr. Bloor were talking about? Well, it made sense of everything that's been happening to me." Olivia suggested they go to her dormitory as it was closer than the boys. "It's just 3 doors down this passage," she said, "and we can get cleaned up before Matron starts her rounds." She spoke too soon. Matron had already started her rounds. Just as they reached Olivia's dormitory, the door opened and Matron came out. Only then did Charlie discover why her voice had been so familiar. Matron was Lucretia Eubeam. Of course, Billy and Olivia simply recognized her as their school matron. But Charlie was so shaken he felt as though he'd received a nasty blow to the stomach. He took a desperate gulp of air and stuttered, Lucretia?" "Matron to you," snapped Aunt Lucretia. "I didn't know you were a matron," said Charlie, still in shock. "We've all got to earn a living these days," said Matron Eubeam. Clearly puzzled, Olivia and Billy turned from Charlie to Aunt Lucretia and back again. "You're all filthy," Matron went on. "Where have you been?" Olivia was ready for this one. Without a moment of hesitation, she said, "We were out in the garden, and when we tried to come in, the door was locked, so we went round and found a window and climbed in this empty, really dirty room. Well, really, we fell in because the window was quite high." Matron frowned. Did she believe Olivia? It was just possible that someone had locked the garden door. She said, "I'd put you all on detention for another 24 hours, but as it happens, I want my day off too. So this time, I'll let you off with a warning." "Thank you, Matron," Olivia said gushingly. "However," Matron Eubeam wasn't fobbed off that easily, "you can all go to bed right now." "But we've got another hour," Billy said bravely. "It'll take you all an hour to clean yourselves up," barked Matron. "Off you go, right now." She turned to Olivia. "And you'd better have those knees sorted out." Leaving Olivia to the matron's far from tender care, Charlie and Billy made their way back to their own dormitory. There was something to be said for an almost empty school after all. The water in the taps was hot. So far, Charlie had only managed to get one cold bath. Not that he enjoyed baths, but today he had the longest, hottest bath he could remember. 5 minutes after the boy had climbed into bed, there was a knock on the door, and Olivia bounced in. She was wearing a white velvet dressing gown with big purple flowers splashed all over, and her purple hair had turned a mousy brown. "Matron made me wash it," she informed the boys. "It was just spray-on dye." She plunked herself at the foot of Charlie's bed. "So, what have you got to tell us?" "It's like this," began Charlie, and he told them everything that had happened to him, from the moment he saw the photograph of the strange man and the baby until he reached Buller's Academy. "All the time I've been thinking that the thing in the case was valuable, a precious thing that could be exchanged for Mrs. Ingledew's niece, whoever she is. But it seems that Dr. Bloor just wants to destroy it." "Before it wakes the girl up," added Olivia. "And the girl must be the stolen baby." "So, in a way, what's in the case is still valuable," said Billy, "because of what it can do. It's like a kind of spell." Olivia swung her legs. "Do you know what I think?" She didn't wait for them to ask. "I think Manfred's hypnotized her. Perhaps she's been hypnotized ever since she was stolen, or swapped, or whatever. But it's wearing off a bit, so Manfred has to keep doing it to make sure she doesn't wake up and run away or remember who she really is." "Olivia, you're brilliant," said Charlie. "To tell the truth, for a while I thought it was you." "Me? No way. I think I'd know if I was hypnotized." Olivia grinned. "I'm pretty sure I can find out who she is, though." "How?" asked Charlie. "Observation. I'm good at that. If the baby was swapped 8 years ago, and she was nearly 2 then, she's going to be about the same age as us. She's bound to be endowed, because that's why Dr. Bloor would have wanted her, so who fits the description? There aren't that many of you, are there?" 12, said Billy. 5 are girls. Zelda's too old, she's 13. So's Beth. That leaves Dorcas, Emilia, and Bindi. "Can't be Dorcas," Olivia declared. "She's so cheerful. I've never seen anyone less hypnotized." "It's Emilia!" Charlie exclaimed. "Of course it is. Think about it. She always looks as if she's kind of in a trance. And she's afraid of Dr. Bloor." "Who isn't?" said Olivia. "But I think you're right. She's in my dormitory, so I'll keep my eyes open. Better go now. Night, boys. See you in the morning." Olivia bounced off the bed and out the door. She had hardly left the room when the voice of Lucretia Eubeam barked, "Lights out," and a white hand snaked around the open door and snapped off the light. For a moment, both boys were silent. There were 4 empty beds between Charlie and Billy. On the other side of the room, all the beds were empty. It gave Charlie the creeps. He wondered what it was like to be Billy, alone in this big, dark room every weekend. "Billy," he whispered, "next weekend, can you come home with me? Will they let you?" "Oh, yes," said Billy eagerly. "I've been to Fidelio's house, so I'm sure they'll let me come to yours." "Good." There was a creak, a soft shuffling, and a thin beam of torchlight approached Charlie's bed. Charlie could just make out Billy's small figure in pale blue pajamas. "Charlie, you know you said you can hear what people are saying in their photographs?" "Yes," said Charlie uncertainly. "Sometimes." A crumpled photograph was placed on his pillow. "Can you tell me what these people are saying?" asked Billy. "They're my parents." Charlie stared at the photo. He saw a young couple standing under a tree. The woman was wearing such a pale dress she looked like a ghost. She had blonde, almost white hair. They were both smiling, but only with their mouths. The woman's eyes looked fearful, the man's angry. The voice that suddenly erupted in Charlie's ear gave him such a jolt, his head ducked forward as if he'd been hit. "Come on, smile for your little boy, Mrs. Raven. It is so hard." There was no mistaking that cold, deep voice. The young man said, "You'll never get away with this. Look at my son, Mr. Raven. Isn't he handsome, my little Manfred? That's right. Look into his eyes. Like lovely shiny coals, aren't they?" "Can you hear anything?" asked Billy. Charlie didn't know what to say. How could he leave Billy with those awful words? He decided to lie. But before he could speak, something happened. Something that had never happened to him before. He began to hear the young man's thoughts. "We can still get away. We'll take little Billy and drive far away, or they'll never find us. I wish that boy wouldn't look at me like that. His eyes are like pitch." "Well," said Billy anxiously. The woman, Charlie's thoughts were racing. The woman said, "Be quick. I must get back to little Billy." And the man said, "Yes, our baby is very precious. He's going to be a star." Even in the dim light, Charlie could see Billy's happy smile. "Anything else?" asked Billy. "No. Sorry." "Did the person who took the photo say anything? I never found out who it was." "They didn't say anything." Charlie handed the photo over to Billy. "One day I might be adopted," said Billy. "I'll have parents again, and I'll be able to go home like everyone else." He crept back to bed, and in a few moments he was fast asleep, the crumpled photo buried deep under his pillow. Charlie lay awake for a long time, trying to puzzle out what was going on in Bloor's Academy. Babies had been stolen, children had vanished, and fathers too. A father he had thought was dead was still alive, but didn't know who he was. "Uncle Peyton," Charlie murmured. "He can find out. I bet he already knows a lot more than he's letting on." One more day, and Charlie would be at home. Questions for Peyton were already forming in his mind when he fell asleep at last. And that is chapter 11. Wow, so much is going on. As always, I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Late Beginnings, and we can chat about what'll happen next, or you can just hear me blather on about randomness. As always, catch you guys later.